about utility rights. Okay, we're going to talk about utilities. First, we will talk about our rights regarding shutoff notices. Then we will talk about your right to timely notice and how to help you understand competitive supply company offers and to know when you might be being scammed. Later on in the breakout rooms, you'll have the opportunity to ask questions and learn about all the resources available to help you. So let's move on to utility shutoff. Okay, so it's important to know that your gas and electricity can't be shut off without permission from the Department of Public Utilities, or DPU. If you are experiencing financial hardship and someone in your home is seriously ill, or you have an infant under 12 months old. Your utilities also cannot be shut off if everyone in your home is 65 or older, excluding minor children. And finally, your utilities cannot be shut off between November 15th and March 15th. Sometimes this is extended through April because this is a winter moratorium and it's for the utilities necessary to heat your home. And on the next slide, I have 3 statements for you. And your job is to figure out which statement is a lie. So this is called 2 truths and a lie if you've ever played this game. At the end, I'll ask you to hold up 1 finger if you think the first statement is a lie, 2 fingers for the second statement, and 3 for the third. Okay, statement number 1. Your utilities will be shut off automatically if your bill is 30 days past due. Number 2, asthma, depression, attention deficit disorder, and cancer are all considered serious illnesses that can require utility protection. And statement number 3, your utility company must send 3 separate notices before they can terminate your services. So remember, one of these is not true. So go ahead and put up a finger, 1, 2, or 3, for which of these statements you think is a lie. Okay, see a few 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. I think 1 is the winner. And drum roll. Surprise, number 1 is not true. 2 and 3 are true. So all those things listed are considered serious illnesses and require utility protections. And your utility company has to send 3 separate notices, which we'll talk about on the next slide. Okay, so timely notices. Before turning off your power or gas, your company has to send you 3 separate notices. They have to wait at least 27 days between the first and second notice, 48 days between the second and third, and then after the last notice, they have to give you 72 hours to respond before they physically come to your house to turn off your power or gas. And now we can talk about the steps you can take if you do get a shut-off notice. For resolving these kinds of disputes, you will want to first gather any notices as well as your account number, your latest bill, and any other information you think could support your case. The next step is to call the utility company. You have to do this before reaching out to DPU. Otherwise, they'll just tell you to call your utility company first. Inform the utility company of your circumstances and ask what your options are. there will be an option to select Spanish when you first call. For other languages, you have to press 0 until an operator comes on the line and tell them what language you need, and they will get an interpreter on the line. And then if you're not satisfied with this call to your utility company, that's when you contact DPU to file a complaint. And then you can ask for help navigating the kinds of assistance you qualify for. And the DPU number is right here on the screen, so take it down now if you'd like, or you'll also get it in an email later on this week. And next, we're going to talk about competitive supply companies. And Veronica is going to share her personal experience with one of these companies. So take it away, Veronica.
Follow you. I'll tell you a quick story. In 2021 to 2020, through Eversource, I was getting energy through a different company. I was getting 11,090. If you want to know how much you're paying per kilowatt, look at the front part of your bill and the back. I even circled it here. I don't know if you can see it, but you can figure out how much you're paying per kilowatt. And the contract ended 0.1199 and went to 18.99. It's an enormous amount of an increase in my bill. So I called Eversource. I asked what would be the best company to get my power from. And I found out that Somerville has a specific program for people who live here. Today I pay 0.1021. So I pay a much lower rate now than the other supply companies were offering. And I only found out about that because I called Eversource. So as Cassie said, we have to know our rights and we have to go and try to negotiate and ask questions and question the amounts we're paying now.
Thank you, Veronica. I'm glad you were able to figure it out and see that you're paying more. I know sometimes it can be really confusing, especially when these companies come to your door and say, you know, they have a better price for you, but it doesn't always end up being exactly what they say it is. So on the next slide, we have some examples of a few of the competitive supply companies that work in Somerville, but there are many more. And you can see for yourself on the next slide, there's a screenshot of this website, and it shows the supplier name and the estimated monthly cost. And we'll put a link in the chat and also send it in a follow-up email so you can check it out and see, compare the rates of these competitive supply companies. Next slide, thank you. And these companies have been known to switch consumers without their consent. And because of the way these companies have been misleading consumers, our state attorney general has been fighting to ban them. If a competitive supply company has switched you to their service without your consent, or if they're giving you a hard time or making it difficult to switch services, or if you switch to a provider because of some misleading information they gave you, you should file a complaint with the Attorney General's office. You can call this number on the screen, 617-727-8400, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And you can also file online. And again, we'll put a link in the chat and you'll get this information all later on in an email too. Okay, and on the next slide, we have a quick true or false question for you. So you can raise your hand, I'll make a statement, and you can raise your hand if you think the statement is true. So raise your hand if you think that your utility company, when they will call you when they're on their way to ask you to make a payment to avoid shutoff. So raise your hand if you think this statement is true. I don't see any hands up.
Could you repeat what the statement is, please, Cassie?
Yes. So the statement is your utility company will call you when they are on their way to your house to shut off your power and ask you to make a payment to avoid shutoff. So raise your hand if you think this is true. I see a couple of people have said true. So actually, this statement is false. So we can go to the next slide. Sometimes there are phone scammers who will call you and they'll ask you to make a final payment and that they're on their way to shut off your power. If you get a call like this, you hang up, or you should hang up and call your supplier directly, like Eversource. Unfortunately, I almost fell prey to one of these phone scams. I was out and distracted and they called me and told me I needed to pay at least $100. I didn't have it. And one of my friends offered to pay it for me so I could keep my power on. But then they told me I needed to send this money over the app Zelle. And that's when I saw the red flag. I hung up and called Eversource. And Eversource assured me they would never call me when they were on their way to shut off my power. I would just get the notices. And if I didn't respond, they would just come to my house and turn off my power without calling me. So keep that in mind. If you get a call saying, we're on our way to shut off your power, but pay now to keep it on, call Eversource or whoever your supplier is before you send anybody money. All right, next slide. I just want to thank the National Consumer Law Center who published most of the information from this presentation. And now we're going to move into our second portion of storytelling. Again, look for an email with this information, and we can also print any resources that people need. And later on in the breakout rooms, you guys can ask questions and share more stories too.